Hello and welcome to Quantum Conversations with Sarah Kleiner and Carrie Bennet. We are so excited about this new podcast. We are going to talk all about quantum health from more of the female viewpoint, but just the average person's viewpoint to make this information accessible so that you can start to implement it in your daily life. I'm going to be broadcasting this on my YouTube channel as well as my podcast for the first 4 episodes, but I really want to encourage you to go and follow us on the podcast app as well as the brand new YouTube channel where we're going to be posting these videos every single week. So the first 4 episodes, if you're seeing this introduction, make sure you head on over to the Quantum Conversations YouTube channel as well as the Quantum Conversations audio only podcast so you can follow the new episodes after these first 4 are published on my channel, the Sarah Kleiner Wellness YouTube channel, and the Evolving Wellness podcast. Those will be linked for you down in the show notes. I also want to let you know I'm posting in the show notes my free guides to building your perfect quantum day, as well as Carrie's free guides. She's got some amazing guides and resources, my courses, as well as Carrie's courses. If you want to dive deeper with any of this information, definitely get those free guides, mine and Carrie's, and check out our courses as well. I hope that you enjoy this episode and have a fantastic day. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Quantum Conversations with my co-host, Carrie Bennet. We're so glad that you're here. We are going to talk today about all these parasite and detox protocols we see all over Instagram, right, Carrie?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think what really, I don't know. I think this freaks people out at first when they meet a clinician who has more of a quantum circadian mindset, but we don't go into detox protocols or lots of functional medicine testing or anything like that. Like, we lay a foundation that's really things that are free and easy. And I think it freaks a lot of people out first because the traditional perspective or the perspective that they come from is usually having seen at least half a dozen or more practitioners having run massive amounts of lab assessments or functional assessments, but really not seeing any progress in terms of what they're looking to improve upon with their health.
Yeah, I think that's the most frustrating thing that I went through on my own health journey. And I've kind of been there with my daughter as well over the last 15 years. It's like you have stuff going on, you know, something's not quite right. And so our natural, I think, instinct, I don't think it's instinct, to be honest with you. I think it's like all this outside information coming in that maybe we see on Instagram or just in general is like, okay, I need to run a bunch of tests to find out what's going on here. But then you run all the tests, you spend all the money, and it's like, okay, I have this bacteria or this, problem. What the heck do I do about it? Right. And this is low and this is low and this is low and that's high and that's high. And it's like, you got 10 pages of tests, and how the heck do you even decipher that and make sense of it and apply it to your health? Right.
Absolutely. I think a really prime example is when people come to me with like a stool test or something that assesses their gut, the balance of the bacteria in their gut. And I hate to say this, I never want to be like, well, you just wasted $250, but knowing what we know about circadian rhythm and the influence on the gut and seasonal variation in the gut, our bacteria are always changing. So what that you pooped one time or maybe 3 times, right? There's those 2, 3 times into a sample and came up and this was what was run and this is what came out. There's so much change and variation that happens. And now we're realizing it's not necessarily even the bacterial species themselves that matter. People are now saying, well, what about the metabolites that they make? And in the quantum biology world, we say, well, what about the light? Because bacteria emit different frequencies of light. Our perspective is, well, no one's measuring the light that they're releasing. What if it's the light signaling that we need to optimize in terms of the gut? And so, I don't know. I think like you hit the nail on the head. People see a lot of like, oh, I can test this. I can test this. I've not found a lot of clinical usefulness for it, but people like information about their bodies. They like data, which is why trackers, right? Like, Oura Ring and Whoop and all that's why trackers are really popular these days, because people like information about their bodies. And I'm all for information about our bodies when we can do something that's clinically relevant and clinically useful. And I hate to say it, but 9 times out of 10, the majority of those tests don't provide any clinical relevance in terms of what I'm going to help you improve upon in terms of your lifestyle, your relationship with light, or I'm going to have to actually pull you off of the 35 supplements you've acquired over the course of the past decade of working with other practitioners who look at these different test results and realize that what their tools are in their toolbox is just to prescribe supplements, basically, to hopefully change or modify what's going on to improve people's health. And I just don't see it working on a regular basis. The typical thing that I see in practice is people will come to me with a boatload of these tests that share a lot of information. And I think people do like to see information about their bodies. They do like to see data about their bodies, which is why all of these trackers are available. I know that we like the Oura Ring, the Whoop, it's cool. But the question becomes, how accurate are the results and how clinically useful are they to us in order to support our patients in terms of improving their health? And I've just found that those types of tests don't really hold a ton of weight when it comes to how I'm going to support my clients. And unfortunately, sometimes it's even worse than that. Not that the tests just don't provide accurate, adequate information, but also what a client is usually comes to me is after they've done 6 to 10 of these different tests, then they have like, oh, well, I need all of these supplements to cure or to improve what I've done in these tests. And then there's another, 20 supplements that they're on. And then you go like, well, have you noticed any improvements? And it's like 99 times out of 100, it's like, well, no, not really. So it's just, for me, it's not a first line thing to do, right?
Yep.
I always say that the stuff that we teach with circadian rhythm is first line what I apply in clinical practice, because the number of things that having a strong circadian rhythm and a good relationship to light and understanding how you need to block artificial light at night to support sleep and regeneration, I always say that those are the things that are foundational and will actually really move the needle for a majority of people. So then if symptoms remain, then I can pinpoint and get more specific in terms of where people need support. As opposed to if I were to give someone my typical questionnaire on day 1, which goes over every system of the body, upper digestive, lower digestive, liver, adrenals, vitamin needs, thyroid, right? I would have to run, based on that initial questionnaire, I'd have to run 5 or 7 tests because it looks like everything is off. But it's amazing how when you optimize circadian rhythm and then they take that questionnaire again, how much the symptom burden has shrunk. And it's just using these strategies. And then could it be clinically useful to dig in a little bit deeper, get more information about a specific system or support digestion in a certain way? Absolutely, it can be. Or heck, sometimes people do need to detoxify from heavy metals. They do need to detoxify from infections and overgrowth. But it's never for me been a clinically useful to do any of that stuff first when one circadian rhythm isn't talked about.
I agree. And it's like a lot of people going back to the supplements, they will start taking the supplements and either they might feel no difference. That's what I see a lot. They might feel a little bit better initially. And then I also see people that take a lot of supplements and they feel worse after a while. That's what happened with me because I had done a lot of testing and these supplements were supposed to be kind of the fix for what was wrong with me on these tests being abnormal. And I actually felt worse with a lot of those supplements. And it's like, the body doesn't work that way, right? It doesn't work on like you put something in and you change something and you get something out. Like there's kind of a resonance effect going on in the body. And if we're just constantly pouring in exogenous things, you don't really know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're really going to get a positive result, right?
Absolutely. Because in nature, you don't just get methylcobalamin, right? It's in nature, nutrients are always connected to other nutrients, to other phytochemicals and cofactors and stuff that we don't have a name for yet. And we don't understand anything about it, but still is there. Like you said, an energetic quality, a resonance quality. So we really are designed to get all of our nutrients from whole foods, nutritional, like real food, basically real food sources. And so, the chaos I've seen from just supplementing individual things, you know, B complex here, zinc and copper there, DHA here, you know, I've had clients who legitimately go off of everything. And they just because they're like, okay, I don't think any of these are doing anything for me. So they'll go off everything and they'll be like, I feel exactly the same. So for like 10 months, I spent $500 a month on supplements and it really didn't do anything for my symptoms or make any improvement. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
That was me. No judgment. That was me. That was me as a clinician. This is growth as a clinician too, right? Like I used to want to test people. I thought that was interesting. Yeah. Give me an oats test. Give me an HTMA. Like those are interesting. But yeah, I just don't find them clinically useful anymore.
Yeah. And I like what you said about kind of having them get the basics down, circadian rhythm, sunlight, blocking non-native EMF, all the things that you cellular hydration, deuterium. When you really can dial those things in for a good 60, 90 days, you're going to feel like a different person, right? And, you know, doing a symptom burden analysis, I think is great because it doesn't require them to go and give blood and send poop in the mail or pee in the mail, any of that stuff. Like we're just going on how you feel, right? We don't necessarily need to see on paper what's causing this. Sure. It would be interesting information and testing can be information that's, great. Sure. We've got this, but I find that it can cause a lot more worry with people, you know, that they will get a test result back. And, you know, I will get messages on Instagram constantly from people. And I'm like, please don't send me your test results. That is not legal. I cannot look at that, but they're literally up in arms about a test result that they've gotten. And I'm like, listen, I can't give medical advice and I can't really analyze testing for you. I'm just going to let you know, this is not the bottom line, end of the story, end all be all. These things can shift in a matter of days easily. You know, your body has this magical ability to get rid of toxins, you know, and to coexist with parasites. And, you know, it may not be as big of a deal as you think at this moment.
Absolutely. I just hopped off of a Q&A with my community and I had a member hop on and she was talking about how she had done the functional medicine route and had like one last session. She had already prepaid for like the test kits and like one last session with a particular practitioner. Meanwhile, though, she's been doing for the past 4 weeks, maybe the circadian stuff. And so she took the test, right? And as she kind of in conjunction with when she started the circadian stuff, and she feels such a big impact just from the circadian stuff. And gut symptoms are almost gone, like went away, like changes in energy, like a lot of really interesting changes that happen just from the stuff that we talk about that's free and foundational. And, but the test came back and the test results showed she had some H. pylori and she did have a parasite. And so the functional medical practitioner really wanted her to do this aggressive killing cleanse on all of that stuff. But this woman's like, but I'm not really feeling any symptoms. Like I feel a lot better and my body is really responding. But she still wanted her to go through with this. And it was legitimately, no joke, probably 10 supplements to be on. Right. You know, and so, but it's like, that's where you're chasing what a test says. Yeah. And as opposed to asking your client how they're feeling and just saying, okay, maybe we know that you might have some H. pylori. Maybe you do have a parasite, but perhaps you're increasing the redox potential of your body. You're increasing the energetic capacity of your body. So your body is handling it without the need to go in and go through this killing protocol.
Right. I mean, this is what I say to people because mold is the big hot topic right now. Everybody's worried about CIRS. Everyone's self-diagnosing with CIRS. And I'm not saying it's not a problem and not an actual thing that people get, but you can have an entire family living in a home that has really bad mold and only one person is going to get sick, or maybe no one gets sick, right? But there's usually only one person that gets like really super chronically ill from this mold, right? If there is someone. And why is that? It's because this person probably has low redox function. It's usually going to be mom, because her cortisol melatonin patterns are a disaster. Her adrenals are shot because she's been taking care of everybody instead of herself, so usually mom is the one who gets super sick. And it's because her redox function is super low. And so her body is unable to detox from this mold. And our bodies have these natural abilities to detox. Again, definitely not saying anyone should go live in a mold infested home and that mold illnesses are not real and they don't happen, because they do. But just giving like a thought about that whole thing of like, why is only one person in the whole house having problems,
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to observe the situation and just ask some key questions. What is different? What is different about this person? And a lot of people are fed the line that, well, you've got these SNPs that make you more susceptible, right? Yeah. Right. Like in HLA, SNP variation that makes you more susceptible. And I think there is maybe the potential. I have seen people more susceptible, maybe with a certain gene variant. But like that being said, I know people with that gene variant who have also been exposed, like mold exposed, who never developed the mold sensitivities. Right. You just found out that they had this susceptibility to these environmental toxins because they ran a genetic panel and they happen to have lived in a moldy house or were exposed, but they never developed this debilitating symptoms that can come with a mycotoxin illness. So it just means we have to ask questions and switch the paradigm a little bit, right? Yeah. That's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to give people a different way of looking at things. Mm-hmm. So the human body, over the course of however long you think humans have been around, I don't want that to be an argument. However long you think humans have been on this planet, I want you to think about how many environmental insults we've come across in that amount of time. So we're really well equipped actually to handle a lot of different environmental stressors. It's just now our modern living has depleted us of our energetic reserves. We're no longer living in connection with the free energy found in nature. So we're very much living in a depleted state. So in a depleted state, am I more likely to get a viral infection? Yes. Am I more likely to get a Lyme infection? Yes. Am I more likely to get susceptible or symptomatic to mold exposure? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. It's just so you have to address it from that perspective. What's the energetic capacity that this body has at this point? And how do we build that up? Because if it's not mycotoxins, right, maybe you do bind a bunch of mycotoxins. But if you're still in a low status, you're then going to be the person that gets next. Right. And we see that, right? It's not just typically one thing. It's okay. Lyme leads to mycotoxins, leads to breast implant illness, leads to cancer, leads to. So the bottom line is something else, right? Something else more foundational really needs to be supported in this person's body. And that's where we're coming at it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what it's so hard because there's so much fear out there. And this is another thing you and I were just talking about. It's like you have a lot of people talking about parasites, and here's like 10 symptoms of a parasite that you need to be worried about. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, yeah, that also sounds like disrupted cortisol melatonin patterns. That also sounds like a circadian rhythm disruption. Sure, maybe there's a parasite, but we already have parasites. We all have parasites. We fortunately, some of them have a purpose for being in our body, right? They're not all bad. And we've been living with parasites and these creatures since the beginning of our existence. And so, yeah, there's symptoms that sure you could go do a parasite detox, or you could try to fix these foundational things and see if you still have these same symptoms. Because I'm not seeing a lot of testimonials of people that are doing these detoxes and feeling a whole lot better. Are you?
I really am not. The only time I really have seen major improvements in someone's health with any form of a detox is actually when someone gets their mercury fillings removed from a doctor or a dentist who is very aware of how to do it exactly correctly. I have seen, that's the one thing that I've seen actually be really, really impactful in terms of maybe there's something in the body that's harming the body and needs to come out. Breast implants as well. I've actually seen it. There's a physical toxic substance in the body. But the other things I feel like the body, like you said, has the ability to heal and to minimize the impact of a pathogenic bacterium, a virus that might be in the body. So like a latent viral infection, a parasite, when the immune system has the energetic capacity. And the body has the ability to heal and recover when you allow the ability this time at night to heal and recover, and then repeat you have your daytime activity and your nighttime repair activity. And when that's off, it doesn't matter to me. And something that I don't think mitochondria is a buzzword, and we talk a ton about mitochondria, but I don't think people realize that the immune system is a mitochondrially dense and demanding system in the body. So if you've done things that have created a dysfunctional mitochondria in your body, including not understanding the need for a strong circadian rhythm, exposure to a lot of non-native EMFs, basically just living this typical indoor lifestyle. Maybe you consumed food that has a lot of glyphosate. Lots of things can impact those mitochondria negatively. The immune system is one of the first systems, along with the brain and cardiovascular system, that's going to be impacted by it because of how dense those mitochondria are in that system.
Yeah. And I feel like I probably get at least 2 or 3 comments a day on my Instagram of people who have Hashimoto's. Like that one is rampant. And it seems like it's just continuing to get worse and worse and worse with the Hashimoto's. I don't know if you're seeing that as well.
Yes. Hashimoto's really is. But I think it's a reflection of all autoimmune conditions, I think, are really skyrocketing. And I think it really is a reflection of the fact that our immune system doesn't have the right signaling anymore. And it's massively stressed and depleted at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we sound like a broken record, I think, a lot of the time, because we're just like, how's your circadian health? Like, what's your non-native EMF environment like? Like, these are the questions we ask. And I think people really, it's too simple for a lot of them. They're like, no, it's just, I need to do a huge test and spend a bunch of money on all these supplements, do this detox protocol to get well, because that's kind of the information that if you open your phone and start scrolling through any of these bigger pages, that's the information you keep getting fed, is like, you have to do these things to get well. You have to do testing and figure out what's going on. And I don't think you can have a conversation about health without having a conversation about light anymore. I just don't, and I don't think you should.
Well, when when you see it, you can't unsee it. When you know the information, you can't unknow it. And when you start to connect those dots in terms of how much the body relies on a strong and intact circadian rhythm, it makes sense why it is so impactful to be able to optimize our circadian rhythms in order to support the healing and health of the body. And we think healing is a do. Sometimes healing is a be. Like, there's a lot of times people have to also kind of take a step back and not seek out the next protocol, the next cleanse, the next test, right?
The
next diet. Yeah. There's a really interesting healer researcher in Canada. He speaks mostly French, but one of my clients up there introduced me to him. He's got a background in beyond quantum physics. Let's just put it that way. Even like more into ether physics. Like, it's brilliant human being. But basically, he said, you give the body the correct inputs, the correct energetic inputs, and then you surrender and you let your body heal. And you don't trigger your nervous system by seeking and trying to find the next. And I thought that was a really interesting thing for him to say, because this is a man who has the education beyond anything I could possibly ever achieve. And the experience, he's been a practitioner for decades and decades and decades. And the fact that that's what he came out of all of his schooling, that is the message that he's come to. It's the body keys in on certain energetic frequencies, and then it needs to heal and just be. And so he told her, surrender. And that's a very hard thing to do on a chronic health journey, but sometimes we do. We need to trust that we're giving our body all of the energetic inputs that it needs to heal. And then we've just got to let it heal.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that resonates with my story because one thing I had been wanting to do for years was to lose weight. Like I just had this extra stubborn weight. Now I know it's like you're leptin resistant. Like I had been leptin resistant for a very long time. And I was trying all these different diets that don't necessarily address leptin resistance. If you're not addressing your circadian health, you're not addressing leptin resistance. End of story. And so I was like, trying all these different things, carnivore diet and then keto and then fasting. And even on a 7-day water fast, I dropped a bunch of weight, but it came right back on within just a couple of weeks. Like, boom, I'm like, lose all this weight from water fasting. And then boom, it comes right back on. And I wasn't overeating. I wasn't binging. I was on a carnivore diet, literally eating nothing but steak, and I'm like, how the hell does this happen? Well, because you're up in your room with the lights on a phone at 10, 11 o'clock at night. You're not waking up with the sun. You're not going outside. If you are up with the sun, you're inside the house. You never go outdoors. And it was when I finally found this world of quantum healing and circadian health, I was not trying to lose weight. I was trying to get pregnant. I was trying to optimize my hormones. And I'm like, I shouldn't lose weight if I'm trying to get pregnant. But then 30 pounds fell off of me like pretty quickly because I addressed the circadian rhythms and I kind of just surrendered to this process of being like, I need to be more in tune with nature, end of story. And let go of that whole, like, gotta lose weight, gotta get the weight off. Like it just kind of was like a letting go. And then it happened,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, like you said, the bottom line for people listening to this is that, like, if you haven't tried circadian health, it's really key. We find it foundational. And I really encourage you, before you try to reach for that next supplement or seek out the next functional test, save your money, give this 4 weeks, right? 4 weeks. And then see what you see the changes. Notice what you notice. Does it impact your mood, your energy, your sleep, your metabolism, pain levels, inflammation, digestive health? There's a lot of areas where this can be impacted in that amount of time. And then if you still are experiencing symptoms, then maybe seek out additional support. But this should be the first line that everyone goes into. And I think maybe next time we can really dive into more of what this circadian lifestyle looks like for people.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be a great time to talk about next time for sure. And, just on that topic, I was talking with Dr. Sarah Pugh yesterday about HRT because, she's 46, I'm 44. We get a lot of women that are in their 50s and 60s, and they're like, all right, I need to do HRT. I think it's time. And I'm like, I'm not 100% against it. I think sometimes it can be helpful. It's, maybe as a cream, something you can control. I don't like the pellets, the injectables, because then it's in you and you have no control over what's going to happen next. But if you're going to do that, then do the circadian health stuff for 60 to 90 days first, because that is going to correct a lot of stuff, a lot of symptoms. You may, at the end of the 60 to 90 days, say, I don't need any HRT. Or if you do decide to go that route, the dose that you do take is going to be significantly less than if you just kind of like jumped right in, because you're not getting to root cause if you just jump right into adding exogenous hormones to the body, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I have seen that many times. And, are there things like, does circadian rhythm, is that going to help with potentially with vaginal dryness or the atrophy? Not necessarily, right? So there are potential areas where the body can still use additional support. Absolutely. Right. But have I seen changes in quality of sleep, hot flashes, less desire to be bitchy, less anxiety? I mean, like, so profound changes in these things. Right. Absolutely, using circadian. And so if you go to a doctor who can prescribe HRT or bioidentical HRT, you're going to give them a much more targeted symptom that you're looking to support, or some couple of symptoms you're looking to support, as opposed to half or a dozen or more things, right? A whole huge list where they're going to be like, okay, well, that needs progesterone, that needs some estrogen, blah, 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 right? And instead you're going to get it really targeted to you.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's so crazy that, once we kind of set up these things, how much better you feel quickly. I've had a baby for the last 7 months now. Talk about a circadian disruption. But, I mitigate. I just created a whole course for moms about how to mitigate, because I've been doing it for the last 7 months and really wrapping my head around it. But he started sleeping the last, few nights, like through the night. And my husband this morning was like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, why are you in such a great mood? Why do you have so much energy? When are you going to shut up? Did you drink some of my coffee? I'm like, no, I just slept through the night without waking,
right.
That's it. It was just like my body getting the repair that it needed and not waking up to breastfeed,
Yeah, absolutely. I get that.
So yeah. And it's been like 3 nights in a row of that. And then like on day 3, I'm like, I'm a new person, like I'm happy and I have all this energy. And it's like, yeah, because you just got some sleep. You mitigate your light environment, you're outside sunrise, UVA time. And yeah, it can happen super quickly.
It absolutely. Don't underestimate when you can get well-timed circadian sleep. That's really the depth that it needs to be with enough melatonin that your body makes. Do not underestimate the healing that can happen in those windows of time.
Yeah. I was just listening to a podcast recently that basically was talking about, we have animals that hibernate like bears. So they have their whole hibernation season, but we have like a built-in hibernation from basically like 12 to 2 every night. That's like our prime time to hibernate and kind of undergo all the things that they go through in a whole season. Like as a human, as a mammal, that we have to have a 24-hour-ish kind of a schedule. We can do that every night, but so many people I know are waking up during that time. 1 o'clock is a big wake up time for a lot of people. And that's, could be causing leptin resistance, could be leading to a lot of other issues. And it's like, it's not a supplement that you need to add. Like I just did a post on ashwagandha over the weekend, which angered a few folks. But just adding something like ashwagandha is not going to fix your cortisol problem at all. And it actually could end up making things worse because you're suppressing something, right? And suppressing never really gets to the root cause of why is your cortisol messed up in the first place, right?
Absolutely, right. I mean, when you have to recognize that the body for cortisol, the body keys in on light. That's how the body regulates cortisol. And so are there adaptogens that have the ability to support cortisol regulation? Absolutely. But if you're not optimizing the primary signal, you are. It's just a support. It's just a supplement. It's exactly why I, just finished this adrenal fatigue course. And it's why supplements and adaptogens were the very last thing I talked about, right? There's all of these other things that I would love for you to optimize and have in place. And then we can have that discussion.
That's exactly the way I teach anything is like, okay, if you do want to supplement, it's literally like the last module, like in small print, like, here you go. Because that's what people think of when they look at adrenal fatigue and all these issues that people have with burnout, cortisol dysregulation. What supplements can I take to support myself? And it's like, you want to really go spend all that money on supplements when you could do something that's totally free and probably get better results. And then if you do want to sprinkle the supplements in after you've done this stuff for, 60 days or so, then cool. It can be a nice little boost and help you along with things, but it's not going to fix the actual problem.
Yeah, exactly. The hard part, and this was me. I had like how many, at 3, right? At my highest supplement, 3 pill cases, right? One for morning, one for the middle of the afternoon, one for evening, right? And I had to actually get a different one to get like bigger compartments, right? To put more pills into it, more supplements. And so, but that felt easy to me.
Yeah.
Right. It felt easy. I felt like it was like, oh, okay, I just swallow these pills and I'm doing something really supportive for my health. And I just wasn't convinced of the light. I had to probably read through so many Jack Kruse blogs before I was like, okay, fine, make like the Sphinx. I'll go outside in the morning. Fine. And even then I did it a little bit begrudgingly. I didn't even open my screen. I was like, fine, I'll just open my back sliding door and stick my head through the screen. I'll look through the screen. I'm not even going to open the screen. And even that was impactful. Even that did something. And so it was like, oh, hey, fine. And then I feel like that's why a podcast like this exists, because my brain, I had to dive deep. I had to dive deep into the science to understand why something so simple had such a big impact on me. Humans these days, we have the tendency, give me the pill, the supplement, or the device. They'd rather spend $500 or $5,000 on a device that they think will help them, as opposed to doing all these free things first.
Yep. Exactly. And that's the people that get to you and they get to me too. They're like, I've already spent thousands and thousands of dollars. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I did the same exact thing. And that's why my courses, most of them do not cost thousands and thousands of dollars to learn this stuff. And I know you do too, have a ton of free resources that people can actually use those. And I get messages all the time of people who are like, all I did was download your free guide and start following that. And I'm literally a new person. Like, is this real?
Yeah.
Like, yes, 100% real.
Yeah, absolutely. It almost sounds fake. Like the emails or the testimonials almost sound fake, because it typically goes something like this. Within 3 days, 3 days, my life is transformed. It's like, I know. I've been on a chronic health journey for decades. I know. I was there. We've been there. Yeah. Bottom line, if you haven't tried this stuff, please lay the circadian aspect of what we teach as your foundation and build from there.
Exactly. And then if you want to try, some of the supplements and things like that, sure, but don't do it first. Right. And that's why Carrie and I want to have this podcast, because we want to just keep reaching more and more people and making this information more accessible, because I'll just say Carrie is literally one of the smartest people I've ever met. I'm pretty sure, like, smarter than most doctors that I've ever even talked to. And I've talked to like doctors all over the world, literally. And I'm like, yep, Carrie is smarter than most everyone I've ever talked to.
You're going to make me blush.
It's a true story.
Thank you.
And so Carrie can go and read Kruse's blogs and like understand them. The average person is like going to read those blogs and be like, what in the hell did that just say? I actually had somebody in my private group recently, the other day, because Jack has been on the Rick Rubin podcast, those 2 episodes. And they're like, I'm trying to listen to the second episode. Can anybody please summarize it for me? Because I can't understand what the heck they're talking about. I'm so far over my head. One of my other members commented, here's a summary. Sun equals good. Go outside.
Brilliant. Exactly.
I was like, and there it is. But it can be difficult to understand this stuff. So that's why we want to keep on, why we're having this podcast, why we want to keep on having these conversations, because we want to make the information accessible, right?
Absolutely. Whether you're on your own personal health journey, whether you're a clinician who's working with people. I had someone message me and they were like, do you know how much research there is on circadian rhythm and gut health? And I was like,
yes,
I do. And I was like, and guess what? You could put into the search bar circadian rhythm, anxiety, circadian rhythm, depression.
That's what I tell people to do. I'm like, just Google it and
massive amounts. Yeah. Massive. It's been studied. This isn't, and like, so that's the thing too, that I really want to lay, like, this isn't fringe woo, right? Like but you have to be willing to shift your mindset. You have to be willing to recognize the importance of light in your life and then make the key changes to support it.
Yeah. And I just think that it's a good message for people to take home. You can get better without testing. You can get better without cleaning out everything in your body, because there's good stuff. And sometimes a parasite is a good thing and bacteria is a good thing. And we don't want to just kill everything. Right. So yeah, just to give people a little hope that are maybe out there in supplement land and testing land and searching for the next thing. allow yourself to do this. And like Carrie was saying, surrender a little bit, relax a little bit, and quit the constant seeking. I've been there, done that, and people that follow me now, is funny because I started my page as a like carnivore page, and this is the thing. And then secretly I'm like, yeah, no, I'm still, like I said earlier, I couldn't lose the weight, even with all the fasting that I was doing.
Genetic testing about various things, all right.
I did all the stuff. And I was like, I have this big page, and it's like, now I'm doing this and now I'm doing that. And I've been steady, like talking about circadian rhythms and quantum health ever since I got pregnant, so almost 2 years now I've been talking about this stuff because it works. And someone was like, oh, she is crazy, she just jumps on the next trend. And I'm like, well, I did kind of go from carnivore to a bunch of testing, but now I'm here. But this is a trend, quote unquote, that isn't going to go anywhere. And I don't think it's trendy to just time your body with nature, with the way that we got here, essentially. So call it what you want, but
call it what you want. And I also think that that's a testament, though, to you, because you made a huge switch. You had a massive following. You could have promoted anything you wanted to and just stayed the carnivore route, you know, any supplement, any device, right? But I think it's a testament to you and your like mindset of, I need to get to really what's foundational. I need to get to what's going to most support my body and the health of people who I interact with. And the fact that you kept going and you were able to you had to completely rebrand yourself because you realized carnivore really wasn't as foundational as you thought it was originally, And so what? So what if ultimately I become ether physics Carrie? Like, who cares, right? Because we're always in this.
Here for it.
It might be, no, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, like, we should be on this continuous learning journey, and we shouldn't, the second we stop learning and close our mind and say, nope, this is it. And so even we are saying, this is what we find to be foundational right now. But that doesn't mean that tomorrow, I'm also not going to be like, oh yeah, I've also discovered this. And this is how I've seen it impact my health. And this is how I've seen it impact my clients' health. So it's just a journey. We're continually evolving and learning, but that's the point. The point is that we're continuing on this journey and we're not closing our minds to new potentials and new possibilities. And that's where we are today, right? We're not saying that this is, I will never use, now Dr. Cruz uses this, I will never say that this is axiomatic and this will never change and it's only going to be this. But I will say that this has been the most impactful thing I've ever learned for my own health and for the health of my clients.
I 100% agree. And yeah, I mean, doing that 2-hour interview I did with Veda Austin and understanding about water and consciousness. And like, there's just, it opens the door to more and more and more cool stuff. But I feel like I'll always come back to this as a foundation and as a basic for myself and for my clients. And then that other information about the ether and consciousness and water and all that is there. Right. And I think we kind of intuitively connect with that and know those things also, but you never have to go to that level, I think, to really find optimal health. You can if you want to, it's fun, but you can stay very basic and see really, really, really great health results.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this has been a really fun episode. I'm so excited again for next week, and we'll keep on talking about interesting topics as it relates to quantum health.